I grew up in southwestern Pennsylvania at the dawn of the fracking boom. When I was in high school, drilling rigs started showing up on hillsides that had long been quiet. Trucks started rolling through town in the middle of the night. Some families came into more money than anyone knew. New cars in the school parking lot, college paid for. Other families had a different experience. Asthma rates started to rise. People were concerned about the air and the water. People were concerned about the health of their kids. We would later learn that some families were dealing with rare bone and blood cancers that, to this day, nobody can fully explain. Fracking changed everything. It transformed our country, and it transformed my community. It helped the US move away from coal and ultimately reduced greenhouse gas emissions. That's a good thing. It helped reshape geopolitics. It helped the US become less reliant on foreign oil and gas. Fracking was one of the most important technological revolutions of the last 50 years. But the thing is, the people living closest to the wells had almost no say in how that happened. That's the part that stayed with me. Today, we're at the beginning of another revolution. AI is transforming the way that we live, that we work, that we relate to one another. It's promising new medical discoveries, it's promising smarter systems, and it's changing the way that we live and work every day. There's a very interesting parallel here. The one thing with fracking that is important to know is that fracking is very highly capital intensive, but has very low operating costs over time. An important thing to consider here is Sean O'Leary's research from the Ohio River Valley Institute. He found that in counties with fracking, there was very high investment and thus very high growth in GDP from the period from 2008 until 2023. But what he found was that household incomes did not rise nearly as greatly, and jobs actually declined. With fracking, there was high capital intensity. You acquire the land and the mineral rights, you buy or lease the equipment, you drill the well. Lots of upfront investment. But there was little job creation over time. With data centers, it's very similar. There's a lot of upfront investment. Billions of dollars can go into constructing a data center. Billions of dollars can go into the power infrastructure that powers the data center and the models. But ultimately, we're asked who really benefits and who bears the cost. I want to suggest that this time we can do things a little bit differently with the AI boom. Not by halting innovation, not by slowing progress, but by designing a system that works for everyone in the local community and not just shareholders who are very far away. 10 years ago, I was sitting in this auditorium as a senior at Duke. In the 10 years since, I've built a career advising energy and infrastructure investment firms, large companies, and startups, helping them allocate capital into the future of energy. I'd like to share some of my learnings from my personal experience as well as my career over these past 10 years. And I'd like to propose 2 ideas for how we can make this AI data center boom better. Idea number 1 is we need to streamline the permitting system to bring more energy onto the grid. This isn't a controversial idea, but the challenge is with data centers, energy is the key bottleneck. It is one of the biggest tensions in local communities. There is so much resistance to new energy projects, and partly it's because of the massive amount of energy that these data centers require. In PJM, which is the grid operator that manages the grid in Pennsylvania, my home state of Pennsylvania, and other states, 97% of the energy projects that are in the interconnection queue are solar and batteries, clean and reliable energy. Now, the important thing here is it just takes a long time to get those projects built. We need permitting reform. We need mandated timelines to speed up the interconnection process. And if we can solve that, we can unleash a wave of new solar and battery projects which benefit the communities, the grid, and ensures that we're not pitting communities against these projects. We can do this. We just need to get out of our own way. Now, the second idea is a bit more controversial. This one is about implementing golden shares or incentives to share the benefits with local communities. Now, over the past year, the federal government has implemented what they call a golden share in strategic industries, a special investment stake so that taxpayers have a seat at the table. We've seen this in the steel industry. At the state level, an important analog is the state of Alaska, where every citizen at the end of the year in Alaska receives a check in the mail for their share of proceeds from the state's oil revenues. It's through the Alaska Permanent Fund. What if we implemented this idea locally? What if every taxpayer in the local community would have an ownership stake in the project? They would get tax relief or a check in the mail every quarter, every year to help fund education and healthcare. Now, there are companies that I think can lead here. Microsoft, for example, in January implemented a 5-step plan for what they call community-first AI infrastructure. Point number 4 is about keeping the tax benefits in the local community. Now, I've worked with Microsoft on 2 carbon removal projects, one in India, one here in the US, and they are definitely seen as a leader in this space and a company that we can look to as a positive example. We should hold them to a high standard, and we should ensure that communities are brought along to build wealth with the projects, not run over. When I return home and fly into Pittsburgh, and I'm driving home to my house in the countryside, I still see the flare stacks lighting up the sky. I still see the well pads in the distance. But I also see families that are hurting. I see empty storefronts. I see a community that powered the last boom without ever truly sharing in the upside. The question is not whether AI will come and transform our world. It already has. The question is, will we design a system that works for everyone without running over our local communities? Because the future is not just something we invent, it's something we can choose to share. Thank you.